My name is Michael Piskosz. I am an audiologist and tinnitus specialist with MindEar. And for those of you who are not familiar with Tinnitus Awareness Week, Tinnitus Awareness Week happens every year, the first full week of February. This week is a good week to really learn about tinnitus, learn about new solutions and technology and research that is becoming available. So I invite you to keep doing some searches this week. You'll probably find a lot of information around tinnitus that might be helpful for you on your journey. And we thank you for spending time with us this week to join us for this webinar. So to give you an idea of what we're going to discuss today, we're going to start off with talking about how everyone's tinnitus journey is unique. Even though you might experience tinnitus similar to someone, the way in which you find relief can be very different from each other, and that's perfectly okay. We'll also talk a little bit about the complexity of the tinnitus profile. Tinnitus isn't really just one thing. It involves a lot, and we'll talk about that. We'll cover the MindEar philosophy, which is all about evidence-based exercises and techniques. Because it is Tinnitus Awareness Week, we'll also talk about some general tinnitus facts. Make sure you walk away today understanding truthful facts about tinnitus, because there's a lot out there that can mislead. Then we'll dive a little deeper into the different stages of the tinnitus journey to relief. And then within that, we'll also talk about the habituation process. And then we'll finish up talking about the MindEar app and how the features within the MindEar app can benefit you. And then at the end, we'll save time for a live question and answer session. So if you do have any questions, I ask that you jot them down in the Q&A option on the menu bar at the bottom of the screen, and we'll get to as many of those questions as we can after the webinar. So I hope you walk away today with a better understanding of the tinnitus journey to relief. I also hope that you walk away identifying some tools that might work best for you. And those tools will probably differ from person to person. And that you get a better understanding of the MindEar app and to learn a little bit about how to navigate the features and how those features can help. Just a quick reminder, a great place to get all of our information, including these webinars, are on our MindEar Tinnitus YouTube channel. So all of our webinars are recorded, and we do post them usually within about 24 to 48 hours on our YouTube channel. There is a plethora of information on this channel, so please do subscribe. It's a great way to stay connected to the MindEar community. So let's start off by talking about how everyone's tinnitus journey is unique. And what I mean by that is that there's a lot of variance in terms of what works for people in terms of mitigating their tinnitus and finding relief. So for example, sound. Many of you probably use sound therapy in your practices for tinnitus. Well, not everybody likes listening to the same sound, and that's perfectly okay. So there's a lot of variance in different sounds that people like. There's a lot of variance in terms of the different type of relaxation exercises people like. And that's why what we're trying to do is give you the toolkit so you can choose what works for you. However, commitment and perseverance are key to getting through this journey. Most research shows that people can start finding benefit in terms of tinnitus management in as little as about 8 weeks. Now, that doesn't mean that you've reached full habituation in 8 weeks, but most people can start feeling the benefits of the practices and techniques that they're implementing. So you do need to commit some time to it, see it through. And if you do that, you'll probably notice that you find benefit over time. As I said in the beginning, the tinnitus profile isn't just one thing. It's a number of different things. And many of you can probably identify with a couple of these different boxes. So what do these boxes mean? Well, oftentimes the symptoms that come along with tinnitus can be anxiety, can be difficulty to attend to something or to focus on something. It can increase stress. It can create sleep difficulties, can be more difficult to fall asleep. In more severe cases, it can lead to some depression. But one thing we do know is that everybody is looking to find some relief, is looking to help disconnect from their tinnitus to some degree. And all of this ties into overall hearing health. And we're going to spend a little bit of time on that here in a couple of slides and why hearing health is very important in managing your tinnitus. So at MindEar, our core principles are based on research findings and evidence-based practice. So as I was saying, the MindEar philosophy is based on evidence-based practice and research findings. And this includes cognitive behavioral therapy, sound therapy, mindfulness and relaxation, tinnitus coaching, as well as habituation. And we're going to go into each one of these a little bit further so you get a better understanding of what this means. So, in light of Tinnitus Awareness Week, let's just go over some general facts about tinnitus. These are things that people often search for when they first experience tinnitus and are looking for information to better understand what the condition is, as well as what the condition is not. So, one, tinnitus affects approximately 15% of the global population. It is one of the most common auditory conditions worldwide. In fact, almost 1 billion people around the world and nearly 50 million Americans struggle with tinnitus to some degree. Now, that doesn't mean everybody has severe tinnitus. Some people have a more moderate or mild tinnitus, but almost 1 billion people in the world at any given point struggle with some form of tinnitus. So you're not alone. It's just unfortunately we don't talk about it enough and people don't know where to turn in terms of services and solutions. There are two main types of tinnitus. Most people experience what's called subjective tinnitus, and this is tinnitus that just your person, can hear. In some rare cases, there's something called objective tinnitus. And this is a tinnitus that someone on the outside, say you went to see an audiologist, would be able to hear coming out of your ear. And these are often due to some sort of vascular, muscular, or mechanical issue that's creating an audible sound for someone that's not you. Very, very rare, though. Tinnitus can manifest as various sounds. Some of you may experience it as ringing, some of you buzzing, humming, hissing, or even roaring, whooshing. It could be really any sound. There's no right or wrong way to experience tinnitus. And that's why I say it's unique, because everybody experiences a little bit differently than each other. For some of you, it may be intermittent, may come and go. And others, it may be continuous. It may be there most of the time. Common tinnitus symptoms, we already talked about some of these earlier on in the tinnitus profile, but it can create a difficulty in concentrating, create sleep disturbances, irritability, as well as impacting mental and emotional well-being. And despite the absence of a universal cure, it's important to remember that many individuals do find relief through various management techniques that we've already talked about today, and we're going to go into a little bit deeper here in a couple of minutes. Although tinnitus is associated with hearing loss, it can also occur in individuals with normal hearing, and this emphasizes its complex nature. So it's typically due to some type of impairment within the hearing system. But you don't necessarily have to have a significant hearing loss in order for tinnitus to be associated with it. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that as well. Tinnitus can be triggered by a number of factors. And that's one thing I hope you walk away today is being able to go through the exercises of identifying potential triggers, then testing those triggers out. Because if you can identify triggers that spike your tinnitus, then you can be preventative. Because if you can identify them, then you can see when they're going to happen. You can use the techniques that we're going to talk about today to help mitigate the tinnitus from getting too high. Also, things like medications. But the most important thing to remember is that noise is the enemy. Noise to our ears is like smoke to our lungs. Noise is what does damage to our hearing system, especially loud noise over time. So you always want to protect yourself from loud, uncomfortable noise if you know you're going to be in those situations. Of course, there are certain times you can't predict a noise, like an ambulance coming by or something along those lines. As I mentioned, this is a great week, being Tinnitus Awareness Week, to increase your understanding of tinnitus, to continue to look into the different research initiatives that are out there in terms of treatments and future interventions. And really, it's also about providing hope and emphasizing the importance of seeking help, educating yourself, and staying the course as you try to find some relief from this condition. So hopefully that answers a couple of questions you might have had, just going over some of these tinnitus facts. And now we're going to dive a little bit deeper into what this tinnitus journey looks like. And there are four main stages to this journey. Stage one is the awareness stage. Stage two, allowance. Stage three, acclimation. And stage four, the achievement stage. This is the stage we really hope to get as many of you to as possible. So let's take a little deeper dive into what each one of these stages contains. Stage one is the awareness stage. This is where you first become aware of your tinnitus. And there may be something that has triggered it in your life, like a fall or maybe a blow to the head. It can be elevated stress in your life. It could be sudden sensory neural hearing loss, or it could be just the manifestation of hearing loss over a lifetime. And in this stage, when you're not really sure what your tinnitus is, there are a lot of questions. And this is a big information searching stage. So for those of you in stage one that are here today, this is a great first step to educate you and to learn information about what tinnitus is. This can be a very annoying and distressing time because you're not sure what this is. You're not sure where it came from. And if you do go to seek medical help, unfortunately, as many of you have probably experienced, there are many doctors who don't really know much about tinnitus, and all they can offer is learn to live with it, or there's not much you can do about it. And today is a good example of teaching you some things that prove that wrong. There are things that you can do. And what are some of those things you can do in the awareness stage? Well, one, talk to a professional. Have some professional tinnitus coaching, or educate yourself, such as attending webinars like this or looking at more of our informational videos on our YouTube channel. Download the MindEar app and look at some other apps that are out there that have to do with sound therapy and relaxation and cognitive behavioral therapy, because you might find you want to use multiple apps that help you with your tinnitus. This is a good time to familiarize yourself with sound therapy, introducing some light background sound to help partially mask the tinnitus. That helps break your focus and concentration on the tinnitus. We'll talk a little bit more about that. And at the same time, start incorporating some relaxation exercises, any exercises that help you manage your tinnitus response. This could be meditation, this could be mindfulness, this could be deep breathing exercises, or even something like yoga. Whatever type of relaxation exercises work for you are perfectly fine. So before we step to stage two, let's take a moment to talk a little bit about how is tinnitus caused. Now, one of the things we don't know is we don't know exactly the space in the brain that causes tinnitus. I can't peel back your scalp and point to a specific spot in your brain and say that's where your tinnitus is being caused. And that's because of that complex profile we talked about earlier. There's a lot of different brain centers that are involved. It's not just hearing the tinnitus, it's remembering the tinnitus, it's paying attention to the tinnitus. It also involves our emotions because it increases stress, irritability, annoyance. So that includes our limbic system. And it also includes our autonomic nervous system, which is responsible for our fight or flight. So it involves a lot of different systems. So it's very difficult to say this is where your tinnitus is caused. However, what we do know is that there's a very strong relationship between hearing loss and tinnitus. And why is that? Well, here's a short video that's going to talk a little bit, show you kind of exactly what's going on here. So you can see a sound comes in, we process this sound. But when there's damage to the hearing system, which manifests itself as hearing loss, the brain tries to fill in the gaps of the missing information. So it tries to compensate for that missing information, and it creates a sound, or it creates a neural firing that tells the brain that there's still some sound, even though there's no sound in the physical environment that sounds like your tinnitus. And many people believe that that firing to the brain in the absence of the sound is recognized as tinnitus in the brain. So how do we mitigate that? And how do we break that cycle? So there's a number of different things that we can do. And this is what brings you into stage two, which is the allowance stage. And this can be one of the most challenging stages of the entire journey. And the reason for that is because this is where the beginning of acceptance, the accepting of tinnitus as part of one's life and starting to break through those feelings of uncertainty, of anxiousness about is this going to go away or how it's affecting you in your daily life. This is the stage where there's a lot of that self-reflection. And that can be a very challenging stage. So in this stage, some of the most important things to think about are talking to a professional if that's something that you find healthy. You also want to introduce cognitive behavioral therapy in stage two. And cognitive behavioral therapy is just a fancy clinical term for changing your thoughts and your feelings about tinnitus. And how do you do that? Over time, by educating yourself on what tinnitus is and what tinnitus isn't. You can reshape your thoughts in your brain from going to these very negative, catastrophic, debilitating thoughts to more neutral thoughts and manageable thoughts, understanding that in 99% of the cases, tinnitus is a benign body sensation, just like a mosquito bite. It's very irritating and it's annoying, but it's not going to hurt you. But if you keep scratching it, if you keep itching it, the scratch is just going to keep coming back. So tinnitus is like an itch in the brain. The more you scratch it, the more it itches. Now, to stop itching it is easier said than done. And we're going to talk about some ways and techniques to do that. In this stage, stage two, this is the stage where you want to kickstart habituation. And habituation is a term of essentially getting used to a stimulus in your environment. And habituation is not unique to tinnitus. Habituation occurs in all different aspects of our life every single day. For those of you who are wearing a watch, you might not have thought about your watch for a few hours. And now that I mentioned it to you, you probably feel your watch on your wrist. For those of you wearing glasses, kind of the same thing. Your clothes, now that I mentioned your clothes, you probably can feel them around your shoulders and your hips. But these are things we habituate to all the time. And a sound we habituate to are things like the refrigerator hum or our computer fan. Those are sounds we habituate to because we're not going to spend our day listening to the refrigerator hum. However, if the refrigerator makes a different sound, a weird sound we don't hear very often, we might pay attention because now that might mean the ice machine is broken. Unfortunately, tinnitus is like the broken ice machine. We keep paying attention to it over and over and over again. But what we want to do is turn it in to the refrigerator hum that we don't listen to. Okay. And that's the process of habituation. So let's spend a little bit more time talking about what that process looks like. So the process of habituation starts, you experience tinnitus, you have a lot of questions, so you keep paying attention to it. Your awareness of it is very, very high because you're wondering, is this going to go away? You're monitoring it all the time. And that can become very disruptive and make it difficult to focus and pay attention to other things. It could also then create those reactions of stress and anxiety and irritability that we talked about. But by using things like sound therapy and cognitive behavioral therapy and other types of guided exercises and services, you can learn how to manage that reaction. Again, identifying those triggers so you don't allow the stress response to get elevated. And then with continued practice of these exercises like sound therapy as well as cognitive behavioral therapy, those we start to restructure and rewire the way the brain starts to perceive tinnitus. And now you can actually start to change your reactions to the tinnitus and change those reactions from negative to neutral. That's what we're really trying to achieve here, is to change that reaction to the tinnitus. And in turn, over time, that tinnitus perception reduce. And then the last stage is to actually reach habituation. And this is the point where the tinnitus has now become like the refrigerator hum and is in the background and doesn't evoke that negative reaction. Doesn't mean you won't hear it from time to time. It just means that you've now been able to frame it differently and you've been able to put it in a different context. And you now have the tools that you need in order to help mitigate that response. And this ultimately leads to a place where you are now in control of your tinnitus. Your tinnitus is not in control of you. That is the ultimate goal of habituation. And as this process of habituation is taking place, you seamlessly transition into stage three, which is the acclimation phase. So as habituation is taking place, you're adapting to the tinnitus, just like the refrigerator hum, and it becomes less noticeable or bothersome. And you keep using the techniques that you've already been using, the cognitive behavioral therapy, the sound therapy, reshaping those negative thoughts and perceptions. For those of you struggling with sleep, you could start applying these to your sleep regimens to help you fall asleep better and improve your sleep quality. It's also important when you get to stage three and really throughout this entire journey to stop and pause and recognize your own self strength and resilience. This is a really challenging condition to get through for many people. And if you can get from one stage to the next, take a time to pause, reflect, and appreciate the work you've put in to help yourself get better. And getting better doesn't mean you wake up one day and it's completely gone. It's a work in progress. Small steps lead to big changes. That's a good attitude to have during this tinnitus journey relief. And keep using anything that works for you in stage three. There may be things that I haven't brought up today that work for you, and that's perfectly okay. As long as you're not doing anything that hurts yourself or puts your health in jeopardy. Feel free to explore with some things. And then as you go through stage three and you start to become more habituated, you reach the achievement stage, stage four, which is being in control of your tinnitus. And this is still a great place to continue to do the exercises that have been working for you. You may find you want to continue to do these exercises well past reaching the habituation phase. That is part of what this platform is all about. It's giving you the toolbox to take with you so that you can use these tools however you need them moving forward. So we're going to do a quick survey. I'd like to get an idea of where you guys are in your tinnitus journey. So I'm going to put a little survey up here and I'll give you a minute to answer. And again, no right or wrong answer here. All right, let's wrap it up. I'm going to share the results here with you. And you can see, the majority of you are either in the allowance or the awareness stage. So, kudos to everyone here tonight. For those of you in the awareness stage, it's great that you're taking the first step. For those of you in the allowance stage, I know how challenging and difficult that stage can be. So thank you for being here and pushing through. And then for those of you in the acclimation and achievement stage is great. Especially if you're in the achievement stage, be an ambassador for tinnitus management and the things that have worked for you. Share those in tinnitus forums and communities, and help other people find things that work for them. Even though we are the experts, that doesn't mean we have all the answers. Many of you can share your experiences with many of your peers and help each other out. So this is great. Thank you, everybody, for sharing this with me. So we've talked a lot about what tinnitus is. We've talked about the stages of the relief journey. And now we're going to talk a little bit more in depth about the proven tinnitus techniques and things we've mentioned already, like sound therapy, tinnitus coaching, and cognitive behavioral therapy. We're going to start off with sound therapy and tinnitus coaching. So, what is sound therapy? In a nutshell, sound therapy is any sound you can think of. It can be music, it can be nature sounds, it could be a podcast, it can be an audio book. Anything that makes a sound can theoretically be used as sound therapy. And the purpose of sound therapy is to provide relief by using that external sound to distract yourself, partially mask the tinnitus so that you're not focused on the tinnitus as much. Because if we introduce other sound that your brain pays attention to for some period of time, it gets harder for your brain. There's less space, there's less energy for your brain to pay attention to the tinnitus. So we try to disrupt that connection to the tinnitus by introducing other sound. Typically, you want to introduce sounds that you find pleasant, soothing, or calming, or relaxing. Anything that can kind of allow your brain to shift away by reducing the contrast. And that's what you see in the graph over there. So that bottom purple squiggly line, that would be the noise level of a given environment. The spike you see is the tinnitus that someone is experiencing. And all we're trying to do is bring that level of noise, that squiggly purple line, up, make it louder so that less of the tinnitus is audible. So we're partially masking the tinnitus. Now, sound therapy is typically used as part of a comprehensive plan. It's typically not overly effective on its own, but when coupled with cognitive behavioral therapy and relaxation exercises and a good understanding of how to use sound therapy, it can help with stress management and help with distracting yourself from the tinnitus. And sound therapy is a great tool to use to allow your brain over time to habituate. So this is one of the strongest components of tinnitus management. A good analogy, and some of you may have seen this before, is a candle in a dark room. So in this analogy, the candle represents your tinnitus, and the background lighting represents the sound therapy. You walk into a dark room, and you see a candle lit in the middle of a table. The brightness of the flame has a strong contrast to the darkness of the background. So it's very hard to take your attention away from the brightness of the candle, just like tinnitus. But if we turn on the lights, and now that candle is part of a busy restaurant with people moving around, people sitting down at the table, food down, cutlery, dishes, all of a sudden, the candle kind of starts to blend into the scene, into the background, and is a little harder to focus on. Of course, you can choose to still focus on it, but the contrast is now less, and it makes it a little more difficult. This is an example of the process of habituation. So we've talked about the benefits of sound therapy. It can help shift your focus away from the tinnitus. It can help improve focus and concentration, so allow you to focus on things that are more important to you, and can also help reduce stress and anxiety, can promote relaxation and well-being, can help improve sleep quality using some soft sound in the evenings, whether that's through a Bluetooth speaker, a sleep band, or using headphones or earbuds or something along those lines. Another great thing about sound therapy, it's non-invasive, nothing going in your body. Many of you probably use this on a regular basis already. Very easily accessible, right? Many of us have Spotify or Pandora or Apple Music on our phones. We can stream those to our headphones or earbuds or speaker. So many of us already have the configurations to take advantage of sound therapy. But like I said, sound therapy on its own isn't always necessarily that effective. It's using it in combination with a more comprehensive plan that can also include some tinnitus coaching and guidance. And tinnitus coaching can help because it gives you a partner going through this journey and through the steps of habituation. So you don't have to do it alone. Emotional support. This can be a very emotional process, and oftentimes it's difficult to talk to family members or friends about this because they can't hear what you're going through. So it gives you someone to talk to. It allows you to educate yourself, to have a better understanding of what the condition is. And it also makes you more of an informed consumer because there are a lot of scams and hoaxes and false information out there. And this allows you to be a more critical consumer to make sure that you can think through, well, what do I know is true and what sounds like a scam? Get expert advice and tips. We can help answer some of those difficult questions. Like I said, don't forget you've got the Q&A option in the menu bar. Feel free to jot some questions down. We'll get to them at the end. It can help change those negative thoughts using that cognitive behavioral therapy we've talked about, and also introduce coping strategies. And coping strategies are really important to have as you go through this journey. So we've talked about cognitive behavioral therapy being a process in which we try to change negative thought patterns and behaviors and allow you to develop healthier coping strategies to manage your tinnitus. So what does cognitive behavioral therapy actually look like? What are some of the exercises that you do? Well, the top 5 activities of CBT are the following. First, identify and challenge any of those negative thought patterns you have. This is what's called cognitive restructuring, fancy term for just changing the way we think. Okay. 2, setting achievable goals and developing an action plan to achieve those goals. And the reason why I highlight the word achievable is you don't want to set unrealistic goals. It's kind of like losing weight, right? It's one thing to come in and say you want to lose 10 pounds in a month. It's another thing to come in and say you want to lose 70 pounds in a month. The 70 pounds in a month is probably not realistic. It's probably not achievable. So you want to set kind of snackable, bite-sized goals that over time, as I said earlier, small changes lead to big changes. Part of CBT is learning relaxation techniques and stress management exercises as to when to use them and how to maximize those exercises, as well as practicing problem solving skills to address life's challenges. And this can be applied to tinnitus. These are kind of coping skills. When the problem arises, how do you cope? How do you think clearly? And how do you push through? And lastly, creating and practicing daily routines to promote structure and stability. This is a really good practice if you're struggling with tinnitus, because then you can better understand what might be a trigger for tinnitus. And if you can identify those triggers, you can kind of start to kind of wean them out of your daily routine and have a very structured and stable routine that puts you in a good place. So we've talked a lot about the core principles of MindEar. Well, how do we integrate that into the MindEar app? And what are the features available to you to exercise these different principles that we talked about? So for those of you who are using the MindEar app, wonderful. We greatly appreciate that you're downloading it, and we hope you're having a good experience and finding help with it. For those of you who have not downloaded the MindEar app, you can download the MindEar app for free on either the App Store for Apple products or Google Play for Android products. So we'll do another quick question here to give me a better understanding of your familiarity with the MindEar app. Just going to ask you a question here. So what is your experience with the MindEar app? Get a feel for where everybody stands. All right. Let's take a look. So we got a lot of new people in today. That's wonderful. Again, appreciate you spending some time with us and learning a little bit more about the MindEar platform. For those of you who use it from time to time or use it regularly, thank you. We hope you definitely find some benefit from it. And for those of you who've tried it but stopped using it, feel free to contact us and tell us how we can make it better. That will not only benefit you, but it will benefit anybody who's playing around with the MindEar app. So again, thank you guys for sharing that. Greatly appreciate it. So here are just as a high level view of some of the features that are available in the MindEar app. So you have the ability to create your own personal journey. Talk a little bit more about that. We talked a lot about sound therapy. We offer a very diverse soundscape library so that you can utilize that sound therapy aspect. And within those soundscapes, we give you the flexibility to adjust them so you can really personalize each soundscape to your liking. And in line with the cognitive behavioral therapy exercises we talked about, we have a variety of different guided mindfulness and meditative type exercises that you can participate in. And you can always contact one of our tinnitus experts for that tinnitus coaching as well. So we really tried to create a comprehensive app that brings all those proven tools into one space for you. So for those of you new to the MindEar app, once you download it, the first thing you'll be asked is to create an account. And we've made that very easy. You can do that through your Google account, your Apple ID, your Facebook profile, or your email. And once you have set up an account and you log in, there'll be a couple of onboarding questions, and this will help create your personalized tinnitus journey. So a couple of these questions might be, how much has your tinnitus bothered you recently? And you'll see over there on the right, they'll also ask to set some tinnitus goals. And depending on how you answer those questions, the tinnitus journey that is curated for you will be in response to the way that you answered these questions. So the personalized tinnitus journey, you'll see there's that big circle there that says, what is cognitive behavioral therapy? So this is level 1, and you're starting your activity number 2. So it's just a natural progression. You just swipe to the left to get to the next exercise, which would be exercise 3. And there's a variety of different levels. And as you complete and graduate levels, you'll unlock different rewards to keep you kind of motivated and inspired throughout the journey. So by answering some of those onboarding questions, you'll be able to personalize that tinnitus journey. It's got this multi-level step-by-step guidance. You can unlock rewards as you progress. However, if you're someone who doesn't want to do the journey and you'd rather explore on your own, we do give you that flexibility. You simply would click on the self-care section and you'd be able to explore on your own. So the self-care section is the little heart in the bottom app menu. And when you click on that, it'll open up a variety of categories that you can explore on your own at your own pace. So we give you the ability to do that. So let's take a little deeper dive into some of the other features. We talked a lot about cognitive behavioral therapy. So as you go through this journey, many of these exercises are designed with CBT in mind to help you reframe your thoughts about tinnitus. The soundscape library. As I mentioned, we have a variety of different sounds, and within each sound, you have the ability to customize each soundscape by adjusting the sliders of each of those individual 5 sounds. You also get the visual imagery. For some people, that visual imagery can help produce some calm and relaxation. And one of the nice things is you have instant access to sound throughout the app using the sound bar. So no matter where you are in the app, on the bottom of the screen, you'll see the soundscape that you're playing, and you'll have the ability to pause it, play it. So you'll have access to that soundscape no matter where you are in the app. Another great feature is the app is linked to our YouTube channel. So all of the informational videos and content that we put on our YouTube channel is available through the app as well. And this includes videos from a variety of tinnitus experts. This also includes our MindEar podcast, which we call Tinnitus Unplugged, with a variety of different professionals and researchers and key opinion leaders around the world when it comes to tinnitus. and the informational webinars like we're having right now. These all get posted on our YouTube channel, which you can access directly through the app. I mentioned the importance of talking to a live tinnitus coach. For some of you, this may be very, very helpful. For others of you, this might not be something that interests you. We offer this service for those of you who think this could be helpful. We offer two different types of calls. We do offer a 15-minute free video call. This is a free 15-minute consultation where we'll talk to you a little bit about your tinnitus. This can be booked directly within the MindEar app. We also do offer a longer, more comprehensive coaching session that is 45 minutes long. And the cost of that is $75 USD, United States dollars, for that 45-minute coaching session. If that is something you're interested in, you can always reach out to us and we can set that appointment up for you. If you do want to reach out to us, you can email us at contact@mindear.com. Otherwise, you can also visit us at our website, mindear.com as well. If you scan that QR code, that will take you directly to our booking appointment page. So you have the ability to do that if you want to scan that QR code. Otherwise, emailing us at contact@mindear.com is a great way to reach out to us. Another feature that is built into the app, so it's kind of the default setting, is the dark mode. For those of you that might not be familiar with dark mode just reverses the colors, essentially the contrast of your phone screen. And it's been shown that using dark mode can help reduce with disruptions through the night and promote better sleep quality. So just think of your phone without dark mode could be very bright when you get a notification, even if it's on silent. When using dark mode, that notification wouldn't be so bright because your screen would be black, it'd be dark. And as I said, this can help reduce disruption, can promote better sleep quality. It can also extend device battery life in some cases, not necessarily, significant amounts, but you might notice a slight improvement in your battery life. And there's been some evidence that has shown it also helps reduce eye strain. So it makes it a little bit easier on our eyes as well. So this is a feature, dark mode, that we have built into the app, keeping all of these benefits in mind. And here's just a sample of some of the reviews and ratings that we've gotten on the App Store so far. You can take a look here and you can see these if you download the MindEar app and you take a look at some of these reviews and ratings. You'll see that we've already been able to help a number of people out there, which is great to see. A 4.5 out of 5 rating. Our ratings keep climbing every single day, which is wonderful. It's great to see it getting out to more and more people. We invite you that if you are using the MindEar app, to leave us a rating and review. And like I said earlier, if there's something that you don't like, something you think could be better, please do reach out to us and let us know that. So we're close to wrapping up before we get to the Q&A section. And I'm going to ask you guys one more question to see which tinnitus management practices provide the most benefit to you. So a lot of the things that we've already talked about, such as sound therapy, stress relieving exercises, talking to a professional, meditation, and in some cases, physical exercise. Physical exercise is also a great way for some people to help mitigate tinnitus. Physical exercise is obviously good for our overall health, or good for our cardiovascular health. It gets us engaged. And, one of the other things it allows us to do is get the energy out of our minds and put it into our body. So that's another aspect of physical exercise that can be really, really helpful. All right. All right. So let's take a look here. So, the majority of you, half of you using sound therapy, which is typically what we find. That usually is the technique that most people have already integrated into their plan. That's great to see. And it's great to see you guys using some of these other techniques and services as well. So it just goes to show you the variance and diversity of what can work for people. So again, thank you for sharing that information. Just a reminder, even though you can access all of our YouTube information inside the app, we also recommend and invite you to join our YouTube channel. This is where you're going to get the most current information of all of our blogs, our vlogs, our videos, and so on and so forth. So this is a great way to stay connected to the MindEar community.